right, let's talk about sugar. I bet you've got a stack of articles about it somewhere.
Probably right.
We all love it. But why is it so hard to resist? Today we're doing a deep dive into the science of sugar cravings.
Yeah, all the sneaky effects it has
Hmm.
on your brain and body. And some surprising connections, too, to things like sleep, mood, and even diabetes.
So let's start with that sugar rush.
Right.
We all know sugar is delicious.
Right.
Like a lot of delicious things, it triggers the brain's reward system.
It does.
But what's actually going on in our brains when we eat sugar?
Well, imagine you take a bite of cake.
Okay.
Those sugar molecules hit your tongue, and boom, they activate sweet taste receptors.
Okay.
And that sends a signal straight to your brainstem.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a direct line.
Yeah, like a sugar hotline.
I like that.
From there, the signal branches out to different parts of the brain,
Uh-huh.
including the cortex, which is where we process taste.
So it's not just the taste, but how our brains interpret it.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This signal activates the brain's reward system.
The reward system.
This complex network that basically makes us feel good
Makes sense.
and want to repeat behaviors that trigger those feel-good vibes.
That explains a lot. Now, dopamine's involved in this whole process, right?
It is, yeah.
I always hear about dopamine when people talk about addiction.
Right.
Would it be fair to compare sugar to something like, say, cocaine?
There are some definite parallels.
Okay.
Both sugar and drugs like cocaine can trigger a dopamine rush
Okay.
in the brain's reward system.
Got it.
It's like your brain giving you a high five
Uh-huh.
and saying, hey, do that again.
But I'm guessing the intensity is different.
It is.
Like, I'm not getting a cocaine high from a candy bar, right?
Right. The intensity and the way it works are definitely different. Hard drugs, they flood the brain with dopamine much faster and stronger than sugar.
Okay, so maybe not a full-blown cocaine high from a cookie, but it's still a powerful effect.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the reward response to sugar doesn't plateau in the same way it does for other foods.
What do you mean by that?
So, like after a big meal, you feel satisfied.
Yeah.
With sugar, you might keep experiencing that dopamine rush,
Oh, I see.
even after you've had a lot.
So it makes it hard to stop.
Exactly. It can make it much harder to control.
That makes a lot of sense. Explains those times when I just can't resist that extra slice of cake.
Right.
Now, you mentioned that sugar's effect on dopamine isn't as intense as some drugs.
Yeah.
Can you quantify that a little? Like, how much stronger is the dopamine response to cocaine compared to a sugary treat?
Well, the research is ongoing, but some studies have shown that cocaine can trigger a dopamine release that's several times greater than what you'd see with sugar.
Oh, wow.
It's not a perfect comparison, but it gives you an idea of the difference.
Yeah, like comparing a gentle nudge to being shoved off a cliff. Okay, so we've got the taste part down. But our sources said something pretty surprising about sugar receptors.
Yeah,
They aren't just on our tongues.
that's right.
They're all over the digestive system. I had no idea.
That's true.
These receptors in your gut, they're not taste buds, are they?
No, they're not.
But they still play a role in how your body responds to sugar.
They do. They send signals to the brain about feeling full and trigger the release of insulin, which helps regulate blood sugar.
So it's like a double whammy of sugar signals hitting the brain.
Yes,
First from the taste on the tongue, then a second wave from the gut.
exactly. It shows how deeply ingrained sugar is in our biology.
Makes you wonder then, why doesn't broccoli get us as excited as a donut?
That's a great question.
Why do we crave sweets over salad?
That goes back to how our brains evolved to interact with food.
Okay.
Our brains prioritize novelty and variety,
Which means?
meaning they get bored with the same old foods.
Okay.
And that makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. Well, our ancestors, they needed to be able to identify new food sources to make sure they were getting a diverse range of nutrients.
So it was a survival thing.
Exactly. So the dopamine response to a food, it diminishes over time as we eat it repeatedly.
Okay.
It's the brain's way of nudging us to explore new things.
So is that why a new dessert is always more exciting than the same old salad?
It could be. And here's where sugar differs from those healthy foods. Its ability to trigger that dopamine rush doesn't diminish as quickly.
Interesting.
We can continue to experience that reward, that pleasure, even after repeated exposure.
So it's really hard to resist.
Yeah, it's like our brains are constantly telling us, more sugar, more sugar.
It sounds like it's this constant tug of war between our evolution and our environment, where sugar is now everywhere.
Exactly. Our ancestors, they might have encountered sugar occasionally, and fruits and honey, but we're bombarded with it now Processed foods, sugary drinks, it's everywhere.
And our biology hasn't really caught up.
Right. Our bodies aren't designed to handle this constant influx of sugar.
So, speaking of consequences, let's shift gears and talk about the more serious side of things.
Okay.
Our sources highlight 16 alarming signs of high blood sugar. And some of them are really surprising, like blurry vision and needing to pee all the time.
It's true. High blood sugar can have a wide range of effects.
Yeah.
And those signs you mentioned, they're your body's way of saying, hey, something's not right.
Like a warning system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can even impact men's health,
Yeah.
in sensitive areas,
Really?
leading to issues like erectile dysfunction. That's because high blood sugar can damage blood vessels and nerves all over the body.
I never knew that. It's a good reminder that sugar is not just about weight gain.
Right.
It affects our whole system.
It does.
The list also mentions slow healing wounds, frequent infections, constant fatigue. It's a lot.
It is. And all those signs are indicating your body is struggling to regulate blood sugar, which is really important for overall health. It's really important to catch these signs early on because if left unchecked, high blood sugar can progress to more serious conditions.
Like diabetes.
Exactly.
One of our sources actually outlines 8 classic symptoms of diabetes.
Okay.
Extreme fatigue, constant hunger, frequent urination, unexpected weight loss, dry mouth, blurry vision, slow healing wounds, tingling in the hands and feet, and even dark patches on the skin.
Those are some serious symptoms.
It is a pretty concerning picture.
It is. And all of those symptoms are tied to the body's inability to use insulin effectively.
Right.
Now, insulin's like a key that unlocks your cells, allowing glucose from your food to enter and provide energy. When insulin isn't working properly, glucose builds up in your bloodstream,
Okay.
leading to that cascade of negative effects we talked about.
So the cells are basically starving
In a way, yes. Your cells are starving, even though there's plenty of glucose floating around.
because they can't access it.
Right, they can't access it without insulin.
Do we know how prevalent diabetes is in the U.S.? These symptoms sound really common.
The numbers are pretty alarming. Roughly 30.3 million Americans are living with diabetes.
Wow.
That's about 9.4% of the population. And even more concerning, about 33.9% have prediabetes.
Pre-diabetes.
Yeah, a stage where blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough for a diabetes diagnosis yet.
Okay.
But without lifestyle changes, people with prediabetes are at high risk of progressing to type 2 diabetes.
So those are some pretty sobering statistics. It really puts things in perspective.
It does. It's a widespread issue with significant implications.
Yeah.
But before we get too overwhelmed, remember that diabetes is often preventable or manageable with the right approach.
Okay, that is reassuring. So what can we actually do? Our sources mention some strategies for preventing or managing these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump into solutions, I want to highlight something important about prediabetes.
Okay.
It's often silent, meaning people might not have noticeable symptoms.
Oh, wow.
So this makes regular checkups and blood sugar monitoring even more important, especially if you have risk factors like family history or a sedentary lifestyle. Early detection can make a huge difference.
That's a good point. It's easy to assume that if you feel fine, you must be healthy.
Right.
But sometimes these things are lurking beneath the surface, so awareness and proactive healthcare are key.
Absolutely.
All right, with that said, let's shift gears and explore what we can actually do to keep our blood sugar in check.
Sound good.
If balancing your sugar levels feels like a constant struggle or diabetes worries keep you up at night, Glucose 6 is the solution you've been searching for. Thousands transformed, healthier lives achieved. Glucose 6, a one-of-a-kind product, has changed the lives of thousands, helping them achieve better blood sugar levels and healthier lives. Glucose 6, your solution to balanced sugar levels. Order now for a healthier tomorrow.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about those pretty alarming stats on diabetes and how important early detection is, especially since prediabetes can be so sneaky.
Like a ticking time bomb almost, if you don't catch it.
Exactly. But now I'm really curious, what can we actually do about it? Our sources mentioned a few strategies for preventing or managing high blood sugar.
Right. There's actually a lot we can do. It's empowering to know we have some control here.
Okay, that's good to hear. So break it down for us. What are the key things we can do to keep our blood sugar in check?
Well, first up is focusing on a balanced diet.
Okay, makes sense.
That means cutting back on processed foods, sugary drinks, and refined carbs. Those sneaky culprits hiding in white bread and pastries.
So basically saying see you later to those sugary sodas and processed snacks.
Pretty much. Those types of foods, they send your blood sugar on a roller coaster,
Oh, I see.
spiking it rapidly and putting a lot of stress on your body.
So not good.
It's like slamming on the gas and brakes constantly. Not good for your engine.
That's a great analogy.
Helps to visualize it, right?
Definitely. So besides ditching the sugary stuff, what else can we do?
Regular physical activity is another big one.
Of course, exercise. I mean, we all know it's good for us, but I don't realize it was so important for blood sugar.
Oh, yeah, it is. Exercise actually improves insulin sensitivity,
Meaning?
meaning your body can use glucose more effectively, so it keeps those blood sugar levels stable.
So it's like fine-tuning your engine.
Exactly. To run smoothly and efficiently.
So even moderate exercise can make a difference, like a brisk walk or a bike ride.
Absolutely. You don't need to be a marathon runner to reap the benefits.
Okay, that's good to know. What about things like medical monitoring? How important is that?
Oh, regular medical checkups are essential, especially if you have risk factors for diabetes. Or, if you've noticed any of those warning signs we talked about.
So getting regular blood sugar tests and talking to your doctor about any concerns.
Exactly. Think of it like taking your car in for regular maintenance.
Okay.
Your doctor can help keep an eye on your blood sugar levels, assess your risk factors, and come up with a personalized plan for prevention or management.
It's always better to prevent than to cure, right?
Absolutely. And remember, knowledge is power.
Sure.
The more you understand your own body and risk factors, the better equipped you are to take control of your health.
Now, you mentioned hydration earlier.
Yes.
And one of our sources pointed out that drinking water can actually help lower blood sugar. Is that true?
You're right. Staying properly hydrated is important for overall health, but it also helps flush out excess glucose from your body.
Really?
Yeah. Water helps your kidneys function properly, which are essential for filtering out waste products, including excess sugar.
Wow, I had no idea. I'm definitely going to up my water intake. It's amazing how simple things like that can make such a big difference.
It's often the small, consistent habits that have the biggest impact in the long run.
It's funny. We get so caught up in those complicated solutions sometimes, when the simplest things like drinking enough water can be really powerful.
I agree. Sometimes we overlook the basics.
For sure.
Speaking of simple yet powerful things, don't underestimate managing stress.
That's a good point. How does stress tie into all of this?
Well, when you're stressed, your body releases hormones like cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And cortisol can actually raise blood sugar levels. It's like your body's fight or flight response kicking in, preparing to deal with a threat. But if you're stressed all the time, those cortisol levels stay high, constantly pushing your blood sugar up.
So being stressed out all the time contributes to high blood sugar in the long run.
Exactly. It's all connected. Finding healthy ways to manage stress, like exercise, meditation, or spending time in nature, can benefit your mental and physical well-being, including keeping blood sugar in check.
It's like a domino effect. Managing stress can positively impact so many other areas of your health.
It's true. And it reinforces the idea that a holistic approach to well-being is essential. It's not just about one thing, it's about how it all fits together.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now. All these lifestyle factors, diet, exercise, hydration, stress management, they're all interconnected.
Exactly.
It's not about making isolated changes, it's about creating a healthy lifestyle.
You got it. It's about balance and well-being, which includes having a healthy relationship with sugar.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm finally understanding how sugar truly affects our bodies and minds. It's not just about willpower or resisting temptation.
It's a lot more complex than that.
There's so much more going on.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring how sugar interacts with our reward system, the potential for addiction, the health risks of too much sugar, and practical steps to manage our intake.
But amidst all the serious stuff, we want to reiterate that it's totally okay to enjoy those occasional treats.
Of course. It's about making informed choices and finding what works best for you.
Absolutely. We all deserve to enjoy those indulgences, but now we can do so with a deeper understanding. Like having the owner's manual to our health.
I love that analogy.
Hopefully this knowledge empowers you to make choices that align with your health goals.
I think so.
Speaking of empowering choices, what's the final takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with today? Now that they understand the science, how should they approach their relationship with sweet treats going forward? It's a question worth pondering, right?
It is. Our goal today wasn't to scare anyone away from dessert. It was to equip them with the knowledge so they can make conscious decisions.
Exactly. When you know how sugar works, you can start making more deliberate choices about how and when you indulge. It's about reclaiming control.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't put the wrong fuel in your car and expect it to run smoothly.
That's a perfect analogy.
Our bodies are these amazing machines.
They are.
They need the right fuel to function at their best.
So this deep dive has been like getting the owner's manual for our amazing bodies.
It has.
Now we can make those informed decisions about how we fuel up and keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. We've covered so much, from how sugar activates our reward system to those potential health risks.
And of course, we want to emphasize again, it's okay to enjoy those occasional treats. It's all about balance.
No pun intended.
Exactly. And remember, making positive changes doesn't have to be this huge overhaul of your life.
Right.
Start by incorporating some small, sustainable habits.
What kind of habits?
Well, think simple swaps, like choosing water over sugary drinks, grabbing a piece of fruit instead of that processed snack, or being more aware of portion sizes.
Those are great examples. Every little step counts. You might even find you start craving healthier things more and more. As you retrain your taste buds and your brain, who knows, you might even discover a new favorite snack that's both delicious and good for you.
That's a delicious thought. As we wrap up our deep dive into the world of sugar, we'll leave you with a final, thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay, hit me with it.
If sugar were classified as an addictive substance, how would that change how we perceive it? How would that impact our choices, even our public health policies?
That's a big question. But it really gets to the heart of our complex relationship with sugar.
It makes you think about sugar's role in our society in a whole new light.
Food for thought, indeed.
It is. And with that, we'll leave you to continue exploring this fascinating topic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those brains buzzing.
See you next time.
So we left off with a pretty big question. What if sugar was classified as addictive?
It's a big one, right? It really makes you think.
It does. Would we see like warning labels on candy bars, PSAs about sugar addiction, maybe even regulations on how they market sugary foods to kids?
Right. It's a fascinating thought experiment. It challenges how we view and treat sugar, this thing that's like everywhere.
You know, it's funny. We always talk about sugar cravings like it's a joke. Oh, I have such a sweet tooth. But if it really is addictive, it makes those cravings a lot more serious.
Definitely. It brings up questions about personal responsibility versus societal influence. If sugar is addictive, are people just to blame for eating too much? Or do food companies play a role? Our whole food environment?
It's complicated. It makes you think about how much control we actually have over our choices, especially when we're surrounded by tempting treats all the time.
It's a tough battle between our biology and our environment. But at least awareness is a good first step. Once we understand how sugar works, we can start making better choices.
Even if those choices are hard.
Right.
That's where those small, sustainable changes come in. Swapping sugary drinks for water, choosing fruit instead of processed snacks, watching our portion sizes. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress.
Exactly. And it's not about deprivation. It's about finding healthier ways to satisfy those cravings.
There are plenty of delicious and nutritious options that won't spike your blood sugar.
Right.
Like what? Give us some ideas.
Okay, well, how about a bowl of fresh berries with some Greek yogurt and a little honey? Or baked apples with cinnamon? Even dark chocolate. The kind with a high percentage of cacao can be really good. It's about exploring those natural sweetness options
Yeah.
and kind of rediscovering the joy of real food.
Those sound great. Healthy doesn't have to be boring.
Not at all. It's about being creative, finding what you like.
Finding what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. What you enjoy and can stick with.
And this isn't just about us making good choices, right? It's
Right.
about pushing for a healthier food environment in general. Like supporting policies that limit how they market sugary foods to kids. Encouraging schools to offer healthier lunches. Making food labels clearer. These are all things that could make healthy choices easier for everyone.
I love that. We can actually change our food environment, make a difference not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into sugar, we want to leave you feeling empowered.
Not scared.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. And now that you understand the science behind sugar, you can make informed choices. Choices that support your health and well-being.
We hope you've learned something new today about this sweet but complex substance.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those brains buzzing.
See you next time.